And everyone can see that?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. I have quite a lot to share. So first off, what is a companion? Actually in Exodus 33:11, Moses is referred to as a companion of God. And in my Bible, there's a little study note on that word companion, which gives a short definition of the word. So I just stole that definition and put it here. So a companion, being more than a friend, is an associate, partner, one who shares a common interest and a common enterprise. And so we see here that a companion is not just a friend, not just someone who we spend our time with, not just someone who we do things with, but it says it's an associate, a partner. And actually, these words, associate, partner, interest, enterprise, as I read these words, my mind immediately went to business. Often these words, they refer to some sort of business. And I think that really can be applied to this word companion. A companion is someone who's not just a friend, but it's someone who we mean business with. Someone who, we share a common goal. And that common goal is that we want to, that common goal is God. We want to know God. We want to gain God. We want to pursue God. And so a companion is someone who can help us in this matter. So here's the reference there. So what do companions do? I mentioned that, they help us. They help us to know God, to gain God, to pursue God. But what does this look like? How, in what practical ways do they help us? And so I have 4 points here with corresponding verses that show us this matter of companions in the Bible, and will help us to understand what the point of companions is. So the first point is that companions gather together to enjoy the Lord's presence. And you may remember this verse from last week on meeting, Matthew 18:20, which says, "For where there are 2 or 3 gathered into my name, there am I in their midst." And so certainly we all need to have a personal life with the Lord. We need to come to the Lord personally, individually, to pray. We need to, read our Bible on our own time. But there's a special portion of the Lord that we get when we're together. Even just in a small group of 2 or 3. Personally, in my personal prayer times, even in my personal Bible reading, my mind can often wander. I kind of get lost in other thoughts as I'm praying or as I'm reading. But whenever I'm with a companion or with a couple of companions, and we're doing a reading or we're praying together, it's much easier for me to focus, for me to stay on the line of what we're doing. And actually, even especially in this matter of prayer, it's much richer. I find it's much richer when I'm with my companions. I feel like the time it's higher, it's deeper, and it's just even more enjoyable when I'm with others, praying with them. And so we need companions so we can enjoy this special portion of the Lord's presence reserved for these small meetings, small gatherings. So the second point that I have here is that companions flee and pursue together. And so the verse we have for this is 2 Timothy 2:22. "But flee youthful lusts and pursue righteousness, faith, love, peace with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart." And so here we have 2 main verbs, flee and pursue. And so on the negative side, we have flee. Alone, the enemy, Satan, he's constantly working in us to tempt us, to draw us away from the Lord. And if we're alone, it's actually very easy for him to penetrate our defenses, for him to get in. Alone, we don't really stand much of a chance fighting against the enemy. It's very easy for him to draw us away, for him to draw us into these temptations. But when we're with our companions, it's much harder. Those walls are thicker. Our defense is stronger when we're with companions. And so it's much harder for the enemy to break through and for him to draw us into these things. There are times where, we're with our companions and maybe we're not doing anything spiritual at the moment, but we're just kind of with them. And we feel drawn away to something. At that moment, we can ask them, "Hey, do you want to pray? Do you want to call on the Lord's name together?" Whatever it is, our companions are, it's good to have those companions there so we can flee these youthful lusts together. And on the positive side, we have this matter of pursuing. And this verse, it says pursuing righteousness, faith, love, peace. These are just the things of God. And so we need to be those who are pursuing God. And our companions often help us do that. Sometimes, we even have kind of a fork in the road, and we don't know which way the Lord's leading. We want to pursue him, we want to follow him, but we just aren't sure where he's going. And I had this situation, this kind of experience a couple of years ago, where I was given the opportunity to either spend some time with my family, who they're believers, but they're not really pursuing at the moment. And so I had the opportunity, to go there to help them, to be with them for a while. Or I had the opportunity to go on this trip, like a gospel trip, where we'd be going and handing out Bibles and preaching the gospel on a college campus. And I just wasn't sure which way the Lord was leading. I felt a little bit of leading both directions. And so I actually brought this up to an older companion, one who was a little bit older than I, who has more life experience. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't know which way the Lord's leading. I want to follow the Lord. I want to do the Lord's will in this matter, but I don't know where he's going. And so this companion, he was able to share with me an experience of how he also at one point had this kind of opportunity. And regarding like this gospel kind of opportunity, he just signed up. He just, was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go for it. And he went for it, and he just felt the Lord's leading the whole time after he signed up. And so I kind of just followed this pattern. And as I said, I wasn't sure before, but once I signed up, I just had the peace from the Lord to go on this trip. And I went on the trip, and it was actually very impactful. It had a very positive impact on my Christian life, and the whole trip was very fruitful. And I just felt like that was where the Lord was going at that time. He wanted me to pursue him, to go this way on the gospel trip. And so, again, we need companions to help us to even discern the Lord's leading, so we can flee from these youthful lusts and pursue the things of God. The third point I have here is that companions lift one another up. So in Ecclesiastes, we have these verses in chapter 4. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his companion. But woe to the one who falls and does not have another to lift him up. And while a man may prevail against the one, the 2 will withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. And so sometimes, sometimes we are drawn off. Sometimes we do fail. The enemy does succeed, in defeating us, and we just feel down. We feel like we're a failure. In this case, we need companions. Sometimes even just things happen in our situation that are negative, and we just, begin to doubt the Lord, or begin to kind of fall away from the faith. And sometimes these things are personal. There's something that we can't necessarily bring up in a Bible study or in a Sunday worship time in our group, because they're just, more private or more personal. Well, for this, praise the Lord that we have companions, somebody who, we can really share these things with, so they can kind of lift us up, remind us of the Lord's mercy, remind us of the Lord's love for us, even pray for us when we're down. And even, sometimes we just feel so lost, so broken, that we just maybe we don't share this with anybody. Maybe we stop going to the meetings. We just feel like we can't be with the saints at this time, and so we stop going to the meetings. If we have companions who are in those meetings, then those companions will be able to reach out to us. They'll realize, hey, this one is not here this morning. Where is he? Or this one has been missing for a little while. I haven't heard from him recently. And that gives them the opportunity to reach out to us or pray for us. Even though they may not know our specific situation, if we have a companion, certainly they will bring us to the Lord, regardless of what our situation is. And I also appreciate this matter in the last verse there of the threefold cord. A threefold cord is like, it's not just, it's like a rope. A rope is not just one long cord, but rather it's multiple cords kind of entwined together to form one cord. And so where one of those pieces goes, the whole cord follows. The whole rope. They're just so entwined with one another. And so in the same way, when one of your companions is down, we should be right there, right there to pick him back up, right there to just go with him through this situation, to care for him through this situation. And so, this matter, companions lift one another up. And then I have one more point under companions, which is that they embolden one another to speak. And the verse I have here is Acts 4:13. As they beheld the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were uneducated men and laymen, they marveled, and they recognized them, that they had been with Jesus. And so here, these two brothers, Peter and John, they went out and they were speaking. And they were actually, uneducated men and laymen. It says right there in the verse. Um, and I know that Peter was one who was he was pretty bold to speak in front of the Lord and in front of the other disciples. But I don't know how he was in his public speaking. Public speaking is like the number one fear. Oftentimes we are very scared to speak. Even this morning, I was kind of nervous, to stand in front of you all and speak. But they had each other. Peter and John had each other, and certainly, before they spoke, they were praying with one another. Certainly, after they speak, even maybe they were, encouraging one another. Hey, I enjoyed your sharing. That really helped me. I enjoyed this point or whatever, that point. And so, even though they were uneducated men, laymen, maybe their public speaking skills were very poor. They had the boldness to speak because they were with one another. And then even through their speaking, it says that the others, the ones who were listening, the audience, they recognized that they had been with Jesus. And this is really our testimony. When we speak, people will realize, that person has been with Jesus. And so we need our companions. We need our companions to encourage us, to pray with us before we speak, so that we would speak, so that we would share our portion. And as we share our portion, other people, they see Jesus. They see Jesus in us. And so, may we have companions to embolden us even to speak. So now I just want to give a few examples of some companions, so we kind of see what exactly this looks like, some real life companions. So there's this example in the Old Testament of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And there were plenty of verses I could have used here, plenty of verses we could look at that show that these ones are real companions. But these verses in Daniel 2 actually use the word companions. So it's good for us to see this. So in Daniel 2:17-18, it says, "Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they might request compassions from before the God of the heavens concerning this mystery, so that Daniel and his companions would not be destroyed with the rest of the wise men of Babylon." And so just some context here with what's going on. King Nebuchadnezzar, who's the king of Babylon, he had a dream, and he wanted this dream to be interpreted. And so he asked his wise men, interpret this dream for me. But actually, so that he knew that the interpretation of the dream was real, he also asked them to tell him what his dream was, which is impossible for you to do as just a man. And so Daniel realized, he realized the situation. He realized the urgency of this situation. And so what did he do? He might be destroyed. Him and his friends, these other guys, they might be destroyed. And so instead of just, kind of agonizing over what could happen, or even just praying by himself, taking it to the Lord, or instead of going to some friends and complaining and agonizing with his friends so they kind of, vindicate his feelings regarding the situation, he went to his companions, these three brothers. He went to them and he prayed with them. They prayed together. And I'm certain that this prayer was stronger than Daniel could have prayed by himself. And so through this prayer, actually God had the way to reveal to Daniel what the dream was, as well as the interpretation of the dream. And so, this matter of companions is seen here. We need to, when we encounter a negative situation, we need to flee to our companions, to pray with them, and to kind of find the Lord's leading in whatever the situation is. Then I also have a New Testament example, which is the disciples. So in Luke 10, I'll just read the verse, Luke 10:1. "Now after these things, the Lord appointed 70 others and sent them 2 by 2 before his face into every city and place where he himself was about to come." And so we see that the Lord himself, Jesus himself, he companionized his disciples. He sent them out 2 by 2. And actually, according to the human concept, this is not the most effective way. Mailmen or UPS delivery men, what do? They go out 1 by 1, because that's the best way to cover all this ground that they have to cover. But in the matter of preaching the gospel, the Lord did not send them out 1 by 1 just to cover a lot of ground, but he sent them out 2 by 2, realizing that they needed companions. They needed to go with somebody else. And again, certainly these ones were praying together. These ones were, encouraging one another to speak. Even, a lot of the time, these ones were turned away. The people who they were speaking to didn't want to receive them. And so they were turned away. And so, that's very discouraging. And if you're by yourself, you may just give up. This is too discouraging of a situation. I can't go on anymore. But if you have a companion, then that will encourage you. Will give you the strength to keep going. And actually, there's another principle kind of laid forward here in this verse, which is that the Lord appointed these companions. And so, if you don't have a companion, if you're needing somebody to pursue the Lord with, somebody to encourage you through a certain situation, then just tell the Lord that. Tell the Lord, I need a companion, and certainly He will appoint somebody for you, appoint a companion to you, because He knows that we can't live, do anything in the Christian life simply by ourselves. And then the last example here I have is me and my companions. I don't have a verse for this, but I do have a short story that I'd like to share with you all. When I kind of saw that there's a difference between friends and companions. And this was at the beginning of the pandemic, when we were all kind of sent home to our own places. I was, at home with my family, kind of in a lockdown situation. I wasn't allowed to leave the house except for, mandatory things. And I think many of us, were in that kind of situation. And I was just calling people. I was kind of reaching out to old friends, calling them, reaching out to some I would consider my companions. I was calling them, and I realized that there was quite a difference between these phone calls. When I'd call my friends, we would often talk about the pandemic. We'd talk about how long is this going to last? I'm suffering at home, by myself, with my family, my siblings, whatever. My parents back under their rule, and so there was kind of a complaining going on often with my friends. And afterwards, I'd get off the phone with them, and I would still be nervous about, how long are we going to be at home? When is this pandemic going to end? And I'd feel kind of down even. A lot of the time, my friends were, maybe mildly depressed, just kind of being stuck at home all the time, and who knows when this situation is going to end. And anyway, I ended those phone calls, and there was I was just still kind of down about the situation. But when I called my companions, actually a lot of times we were talking about the same thing. We were talking about the pandemic. We were talking about how long is this going to last? We're here with our families. It was a lot of the same conversation. But there was a vital difference, which was that we'd also pray together, pray for one another, pray with one another, or we'd share something that we've enjoyed in the last week or so. We would share something that we enjoyed from the Bible reading, or share something from some message that we heard. And so afterwards, after those phone calls, I realized, the Lord is still with us. The Lord is still here, and He cares for us. And certainly He's in charge of this situation. And so after I end my phone call with my companions, I was actually oftentimes very encouraged, very much at peace that the Lord was still with us. And so there was this vital difference I realized between my friends and my companions. Companions are really there to lift us up. And so I'm pretty much done at this point. I just want to say, for those students out there, you're about to go on a break. You're about to finish finals, I think, or maybe some of you have already finished finals, and many of you guys are at home already. And maybe you're in a situation where it's still lockdown. You're still kind of just at home and you can't see anybody. I encourage you, to reach out to those who were in your Bible study group, or those who you kind of know, through this club, or just any ones that you can consider your companions. I think we have about 6 more weeks before we're back together for the next semester, and that's a long time. That's a long time to go, and it's very easy again for the enemy to drag us down and to make us feel just down about our situation, or make us feel like we're failures, or just kind of get lost in the world and forget the things of God. Anyway, I just encourage you. I'm sure that you have, at least one that you can consider your companion, and if not, find one during the sharing time right after this. Just somebody you can reach out to, even just a text or a short phone call during the break. Just a couple times will really change that break. I can guarantee that. So actually, I'm done here. So I think we can go ahead and send it back to Jason.